So, Yukai, it looks like you're at the zoo. Like I feel like there's a cage behind you, and like a llama's gonna walk up and like bite your ear or something.
We're not even good at doing a high intro, like "Welcome to the June and
Oh yeah.
Yukai Show." But no,
Welcome to the Juke and Yukai show.
welcome. I'm
Yeah,
right outside of my home in Taichung, and the reason why I bought this home is because right outside you see this pond. It's kind of a river pond with turtles and fish in it. My home is the one that has an open garage right there. It's
that's
like
beautiful
it's
home,
like
man.
5 stories tall, and
5 stories?
yeah,
Do you have an elevator for that?
yes, we do.
God.
Because we felt that since we're gonna buy a property in Taiwan, it's probably for like my elder family members also. Like I
Yeah.
might move back to the States and whatnot, so I'm not gonna let elderly people go up and down 5 stories.
So, no, for sure, right? You don't want to
Yeah,
make them walk all those steps. Although, a lot of steps actually makes you live longer. But actually, with that, you're talking about family and everything, and we talk about hard work. We wanted to talk about startups with a family, startups while raising kids. But even before we get there, I want to ask you a question, Yukai. When we were at UCLA, instead of going after and recruiting for a job, you actually decided to forego that and take like a harder route, which was doing the startup route. And this had many, many challenges. You've detailed it a little bit in this podcast previously, where you actually couldn't even get paid legally because some legal issues. I
my
forget what the
international
actual.
status, my international
Yeah,
status,
international
basically.
status.
Yeah,
So you could have taken, but you could have recruited and you could have gotten a H-1B visa, whatever it is, and then the company could have paid you, and you could have stayed in the States much easier. And I'm not saying it would have lived comfortably. You still would have had to work hard, but it would have been a different path. But for some reason, you decided to not even take the path, not even recruit. So you didn't even have the chance. It's like you burn the boats, right? You go to war and you burn the boats, so you can't even get retreat. You're all the way committed. What was going through your mind during that time?
yeah. So first of all, I was living that whole gamified lifestyle already, right? Since 2003, like my life is a game. And we already were talking about the literature of, why do you make money? You make money to increase your quality of life, and so it makes no sense to have a job that you feel like you're miserable and and you just hate your job 5 days of the week, and then buy some cool stuff on the side. So that's why it's like we want to live a life that we're passionate about, we're excited about. And then after that, in college, so I started my first business as a freshman because that was my game, that was fun. And when I and but through our business fraternity, Dallas Pi and Brewing Consulting that we founded, I was actually the one that was coaching people to join prestigious like management consulting firms like Deloitte, LEK, investment banking. So I think I was quite qualified to recruit and get into one of these companies that are seen as prestigious and get my international status. But the issue is
For
that
sure.
in my junior year, I already started convincing people to join my startup, right? And some people left their company, you included, right? You left your full-time job to join the startup that we're working together at the time, Future Delivery. So I felt it
Yeah.
would be a pretty bad thing to do if I convinced people to quit their job to join my company. I'm like, oh, by the way, I just joined the company. So I didn't want the temptation. So I feel like if I got an offer from like a really prestigious company like McKinsey or I think Bain interviewed me. I think Boston Consulting Group. I think they interviewed me too for internships, whatnot. Like if I got an offer from them, I think it'll be more temptation because at UCLA in our communities, we were just like we're taught to idolize these companies, right? And like all your peers, all your classmates will respect you so much.
Yeah. It's like,
And
oh my
yeah,
god.
so I didn't want that temptation. It's like, so I said, okay, I'm just not going to recruit. I am just going to not have any offers on the table. So I only have my path of the startup. Yeah, and again, because of my international status, so it doesn't apply to everyone, but some people, uh, it's for my own company. So I didn't have legal status to work or make income. And What was crazy is like, so I had to, in order to have status in the US, I had to go back to community college after I graduated UCLA. And
This is insane.
I
Yeah.
remember a professor was telling us that, hey, if you work hard, maybe one day you can even transfer to UCLA. And I'm like, I already graduated from UCLA, right? But I couldn't make income. I had to be a full-time international student. If not, I had to immediately leave the country. I had to pay international tuition fee, which eventually burned up my savings. So it was definitely a pretty hard path, but it was meaningful. Later on, I did run out of savings, so I moved to Canada, where my parents were living at the time, which was like, I was the loser moving back to my parents, right, and getting kicked out of the country. And then later, the startup raised like over $1 million, so it paid for lodging, and it paid for like food for the home office, so I could eat and sleep. And it also, I think, covered my community college tuition fees. So I didn't get real income, but the company did pay for my community college tuition.
Yeah, you learned more. That's great, man. But so something that stands out in that story is that you felt pressured or you felt like you had to do it because of CD5. You also just disappeared. Can you
Okay,
still hear me?
yeah, I'm back. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Are you good? Can
because
you still do this?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Angel was reminding me, hey, you gotta go somewhere. You gotta go somewhere. So I'm like, okay, when do I have to go there? And I'm like, okay, I still have time. We can, if we end in like 15, 20 minutes, we're good.
Okay, let's do it in 15 minutes. So
Yeah.
this is real though. This is happening in real time. This podcast is Yukai Chow just cares. We care. We both care so much about just sharing any type of knowledge that we've gained that we're sacrificing 20 minutes of family time right now.
It usually is 40, 50 minutes, but yeah, it ends up being a long time.
Well, we
Yeah.
appreciate that. So what I was saying was one key factor in you continuing startups after college is CD5, which is social influence and awareness. Is it that
Social
social influence
influence and relatedness.
and relatedness or awareness and relatedness? You know why? Because we're doing this thing with awareness and consideration in ads, so that was stuck in my head. Social influence and relatedness. Because I had already quit my job, you're like, oh crap, I can't go and recruit now because June's all the way committed as well. And I felt that same pressure too, though. Remember when we started Bruin Consulting? So Bruin Consulting was an organization at UCLA that we started, and to this day, well over a decade later, it's still pretty much the premier business organization at UCLA. I'm very proud of that, UK. Very proud of what we were able
I
to
actually
accomplish there.
remember when we first came up with the logo. I forgot who put it in, but it's like established 2007, and it's like, and we're like, it's 2007. I don't think we should put it there. It's not. It doesn't seem very prestigious that it started this year. But now, like,
Yeah,
remember 2007. Now it's 23. So 15 years later.
that's crazy,
Yeah,
right? That's
I think it's
crazy.
a powerful statement that this organization is still standing strong.
That organization is so powerful that it actually was the path that I met Kim, my wife, and now I have two daughters. Without Bruin Consulting, this would never happen.
Yes, that is the power of Brew Consulting yields.
This is the power. Anyways, there was a moment I remember it when I was sitting there with you and Josh and Ben, and you had your own startups. Josh and Ben, I think, were recruiting or already had offers from Bain and Deloitte Consulting, and
LEK, I think is Josh.
LA Care, so whatever it is,
Yeah, yeah.
and I only had Navigant at the time, and I felt like a loser, or I felt just out of place. And I was president, I was leading, and I wanted to quit. I honestly did. I felt it. I really just wanted to stop and say, you guys just do it. And the only reason I stayed was because of you, because Ben was there, because Josh was there, because there was momentum too, right? We had already put in work, and I was like, I can't just leave now because there's all this work, there's also all this momentum, people are depending on me, and I wonder if that's just a key factor in many things.
You know what's funny?
Where
You just
yeah,
said what made you want to go is because we're around, and you didn't like what you had in comparison. But then you said what
no,
made
no,
you
it was like
stay
pressure. It was like
is because
pressure.
we're around. So that's honestly, I would say it's all your momentum, because I think the three of us, we would have just talked ideas for days and days, weeks. You're the one who executed, did everything. You made the momentum happen, and because of the momentum you pushed, you felt you had to keep going.
But that's what I mean. Like, so it's not just momentum, but it was like I was responsible for these people that I've recruited onto a team,
Hmm.
and I can't just leave you high and dry because I am responsible for putting these people together. And I wonder, you're a gamification expert, I presume, and as part of this, of the core drives that you develop, CD5 seems so powerful in this case. Like you just brought an example of why you did startups. I brought up an example of why I continue with brewing consulting. It just feels like if you surround yourself or if you force yourself to team up, even this podcast, I'm kind of tired at night now. And I'm like, oh, well, you know what? You guys hopping on with me. I got to go. I got to get ready and go. And it forces me because I know that you're depending on me to hop on and to talk about something interesting.
Yeah, so core drive 5 again is social influence relatedness. But the examples we gave has another component, which is core drive 8, loss and avoidance. Like we had that
Mm.
pressure that's like, oh, I don't want to let people down, right? Loss and avoidance, you're avoiding negative outcome. And what happens, this is what we call black hat motivation, which means it doesn't make you feel comfortable, but it drives urgency. Like you like, I don't have a choice. I have to go do it to avoid this negative consequence. So you don't, not wanting to let people down. But this connects to the theme we're talking about in the last few episodes, which is about, you know, don't avoid the hard things. Take up responsibility, right? Do the hard thing, take up responsibility. And at one point when you have enough responsibility, you feel like, okay, that's your identity. You have to keep pushing. You're too legit to quit. And that's how people achieve greatness. And that's when they achieve greatness, that's when they start respecting themselves more. It's great for building self esteem.
But it was hard. I mean, at the time we were just
Mm-hmm.
students. It was hard to build brewing consulting.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard to right out of college do a startup. It's even hard now to do a podcast from zero to how many audience that we want to
Mm-hmm.
get to. It's hard to do all these things.
Yeah. And
So
and one
yeah.
one thing to notice, you mentioned that the reason why you wanted to quit was a self esteem issue, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then also people are scared to keep pushing because what if you try hard and you fail? You would have even less, more of a self esteem issue, right? Uh, but I think but if you run away because of self esteem issues, it will just make it worse and worse and worse. Now you're afraid to do anything at that point. So you have to kind of pick up the responsibility, push through, and that's the only way to build. That's not the only. That's probably one of the few ways to build self esteem.
Well, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you do quit, you become a quitter, and then it's just a loop. You become the person that you have expected yourself to be. But if you expect yourself to persevere, then you will persevere. I think this is right. It's all the mentality. I am this person. I am going to persevere. I'm going to do it. It takes hard work. It takes uh, um, not ju- not just morals, but it takes a strong self esteem, like you were talking about, and it takes the execution. Like these are all really hard things. So let's say we're talking to somebody right now. We're talking to somebody who's busy. They have a 9 to 5 job. They're paying rent, but they're finding it hard to team up with somebody, to find their Yukai or their Junloiza, to build something great. What can they do?
Yeah, I think one of the hardest thing is to find someone competent that you can trust when you're out of school, right? Let's say you go to a networking event, you meet someone who has a great credential. Like, how do you know you can trust your next 5, 7 years in a startup with that person as a partner? I actually find it
It's crazy, right?
very difficult, right? And that's why most co-founders come from either school, you know, or they were coworkers, right? And they developed this. And maybe or people have been friends for like 7 years, 10 years. That chemistry. It's really hard to just go to a place and say, hey, why don't you be my co-founder? And I think this is why it's important to reach out and build relationships and be in an environment that has the same values. In our 10,000 hours of play framework, that's building alliances, right? So knowing your game, knowing your role, but build alliances. Find people who are playing the same game with complementary skills. At school, you find people who have equal passion to you, right? It's like, oh, we want to change the world. We want to do this. We want to achieve great things together, and you build friendship with them, as opposed to people who just are just dedicated to some kind of entertainment that they love, but you're not into. At the workplace, you want to find people you gel well with. and you want to go to different clubs, that's not a one-time event, but let's say even like a book club, the Toastmaster, or some kind of, Steve Jobs meets Steve Wozniak at the homebrew computer club, right? Something like that. So you go to,
Really? Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
nice.
So you go to these things and you start meeting people again and again. You start building the chemistry. I think that's so. So not only do they need to have the competence and skill, you need to have long enough exposure to know that you can trust them, and that's number one, making sure you're immersed in the right environment, and number two, continually building relationships with people.
You know what has helped me in the past? So in the past, when I would work out, I work out a lot, so I want to go to the gym. And sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes I just don't want to go. And in my head, I tell myself, if you don't do it, no one's going to do it for you. And it's kind of like just on autopilot. Just get yourself to the gym. It's kind of like just get yourself to that event. Just get yourself to this other meetup group. Just get yourself to the Toastmasters. Don't even think about what's going to happen there. Maybe you just have to get there. That small step is enough. Like, and that always worked for me. Like, just get to the gym. No one's going to take you there. No one's going to work out for you. Like, literally, no one is going to work out for you. No one's going to eat healthy for you. No one's going to sleep for you. If you don't do it, then it's not going to get done. And I think that mentality has always helped me in doing things where I'm just like, because we get tired. I get tired. You get tired. We work a lot, but we still persevere and go through
Yeah,
it.
this is connected to a Stanford professor, BJ Fogg, who is an expert in behavior design. He has this thing called tiny habits. So basically, and he has a framework called behavior equals MAP, motivation, ability, and prompt. So you need a motivation to do it. You need the ability to do it, which means it's easy, less friction, doesn't cost as much money, requires less brain cycles to process, and then a prompt, something that reminds you to even consider that. And the thing is that, so he has this tiny habits concept, which is like, for him, it's like every time he finishes using the restroom, he does two push-ups. And so the restroom, like
What?
before he washes his hand. So it's like the trigger is using the restroom, right? And he talks about the action needs to be very little. Like the friction needs to be so low, you have your high ability. Like some people are like, well, I can do 10 push-ups, I can do 20, right? He says it has to be so easy, you have no excuse not to. Because if it's like 20 and it's hard for you, I wonder like, I don't want to do 20. And once you fall once, you'll fall again and again and again.
Yeah,
So it's important to get into that behavioral inertia, right? Just getting to the gym, just putting on your workout shoes, just open the Word doc that has the book you're reading, or open your blog writing platform, WordPress or whatnot. And once you open, you stare at, you read the last sentence you wrote in the past. You're on this momentum, and like I said, this is
I
back to
love
our
it.
theme of immersion. I think one of the biggest things, the lowest hanging fruit about behavioral change is crafting your environment so you're immersed in the environment that motivates your behavior.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, I think streaks are incredibly powerful. Like if you see this machine back here, it's a tonal. I don't have to go to the gym anymore. I can just work out here at home. And literally now I work out every morning. And now it's just a habit. It's just who I am. I wake up in the morning and I work out. And I don't miss a workout because it's here. I have no excuses. And also I have this streak. Like I've been working out every single day. I can't break this streak. Like it's weird. Like this streak design, it doesn't even say on there. It does like a week design. If I work out once a week, I still keep my streak. But I mean, like personally, I feel like like I have this commitment that I made to myself that I now work out every day. And if I don't, I feel like I failed or
Yeah,
missed
but you're
something.
not counting your streaks, right? It's just you just have to keep going. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, I just keep going. It's kind of like remember we do the gauntlet,
Yeah,
my gauntlet
I hated
exercise
I
for
hated
those.
it.
I'm sure no one
It
knows.
was the most painful
It like
ever.
never
Yeah,
ends.
there was
Yeah,
no
when
there was no
Yukai and I
hope.
worked out, like in college, Yukai would come out, work out with me, and we'd do this thing called the gauntlet, which is basically you just run steps, do push-ups, do pull-ups, and there's no end. You basically just end when you're completely exhausted. And I loved it, and I think you loved it too, though,
No, I
Yukai.
hated it absolutely. I hated it because if there was like, oh, you do 20 and you're done, like 20 sets, like I could be like, push, 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 push. I gotta get to 20. I gotta get to 20. I'm gonna
Yeah,
die
yeah.
because, and I might die, but I need to get to the goal. Okay. But the gauntlet is there is no end. Just keep repeating, repeating, repeating until you die. And I hated the feeling that there was no hope. There's nothing to look forward to. It was just more pain. And
You look
but
forward to
but
the
I remember
pain.
you serenaded me to do it by rhyming. You were trying to get me to do it. I didn't want to do it, and then you're like, it's like you should like you sang a song, and you're like, you should come with me to do the gauntlet, and after that we'll eat an omelet or something like that. I mean, you definitely rhymed gauntlet with omelet, and I'm like, that was so good that I'll go.
Then let's do it. Oh, I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Let's let's do a last thing here because I know you have to go with your family. I presented at DSP Delta Sigma Pi at UCLA recently, like a few months ago. And in there, I was trying to convince those students to do their own startup because many of them, again, big four accounting firms are trying to get a product management job or trying to do Bain and McKinsey, investment banking, private equity. All of them are trying to go that route. And I was trying to teach them that, especially now, when you're younger, you don't have a family, you don't have a mortgage. Right now, look at you have a family. I had to just put my kids down to sleep. You have all this time, you have all this energy, you have all this ability at your disposal to do something great, and they need to do it. So, for those people that are listening, what can we tell them to inspire them to forego the easy path of Bain and McKinsey and to do something hard and challenging and meaningful with your life and build something that is your
I
own?
think I always say the same thing. I tell people that you want to risk the most when you have the least to lose. And dude, we obviously all agree. When you're a college student, you have so little to lose, right? The whole world's ahead of you. You know, you could be failing five startups in a row when you're in college, and you just go back to school, take your tests, graduate, and you're like, no one has even started in the working world yet. So you literally lost nothing, but you gained so much experience, right? So do it when you have the least to lose. When you graduate college, you might have more income, life kind of restraints that you can still overcome with startup. Then you get married, and then your significant other might not agree with you taking all this risk and not making income and working 100 hours a week. And then you have kids. It's even harder, right? Which is why a lot of the great startups were created by either people who are really really young in their 20s or like people in their 40s because their kids are old enough and they can go do these things again. So I'd say, and yeah,
I
yes,
can't wait
yeah.
for my
So
40s.
yeah. So if you wanna do it in your 40s, then yeah, procrastinate. Because you're. It's hard to do it in your 30s. So yeah, when you're in college, just out of college, take the most risks because you have the least to lose, and you gain so much. You learn so because any internship you can get, June, you have that experience, right? It's you go to a big company and you're like the entry level intern. You do the grunt work. You staff the folders, right? You put the binder. You make the
Yeah.
PowerPoints pretty. You're not doing anything. You're the cog. You're doing repeated work usually. And we have friends who say, "Wow, it's amazing how they interview you to make sure you're a genius and make you do such easy tasks." And so that's a big thing. When you're in college, you do want to uh, take do the things that learn the most. When you're doing a startup every day, you're learning something completely new. How to do company formation, how to solve problems, how do you do SEO, how do you do branding, how do you do term sheets, right? How do you do financial projections? You're learning so much every single day. And after that, and also you will know if you're successful or not in like 2 years to 4 years. That's the lifespan of most startups, right? You either get acquired or you're taken off. You've raised a lot of funding. Whereas in a big corporation, 2 years is 2 3 years is nothing. It's it's like
Mm.
it's like you know how long have you been in Google for, June? Yeah,
Four and
four
a
and a
half
half year. You
years.
could have done two startups, like from start to like conclusion, right? And so
Yeah, I
yeah,
think we
yeah, yeah,
have.
yeah. So you're not really losing that big of a part. Like in 2 years, you'll find out if you'll make like $50 million or you go back to your corporate job, right? You're really not losing that. You're gaining so much experience. You're not risking much, and 2 years later, if it doesn't work, yeah, you miss 2 years of salary. That's it.
I'm close, man. I'm close. I'm leaving it all on doing the startup.
Hopefully,
I want to, man. You know I
yeah.
want to.
June's employer, don't watch this video.
But with that, Yukai, always a pleasure to talk to you. Say hi to the family. I know you guys are going on a little outing. What are you guys up
No,
to?
I actually have an appointment that Angel's reminded me to go to. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm
Okay.
skipping. I'm actually skipping
Okay.
lunch with my lunch because of this. With my family, lunch with my family because of this recording, and then I'm going straight to my next appointment.
Sacrifices, my friend. Well, thank you for sacrificing for us. We'll chat on the next one. Thank you, everyone. Chat us on Twitter, on YouTube, whatever you want. We're here to help in any way that we
Junin
can.
Yukai signing off.
Signing off.